Hey everybody, welcome to the inaugural video of my YouTube channel. Who knows how long or short-lived this will be, but today I'm going to do an interesting little thing that was brought to my attention by a local record shop owner. Jason Skilz here on YouTube runs a tape label and is a big cassette guy. He put out a challenge for the cassette hashtag. And the challenge is to show some tapes that meet certain topics. And, I'll admit that I don't think I can satisfy all of the topics. I think there's probably two or three that I can't really do. I'll mention them as I go, though. But I thought this might be a fun little thing. I got kind of sucked back into cassettes accidentally. I won, well, I won't say I won, but I got a tape as part of a zine that was put out by a local punk label and distro called Sorry State Records here in Raleigh, North Carolina. And they they put out this zine, and it came with a tape that was a compilation of some really good hardcore from the year 2020. And when I got that, I was like, Jesus Christ, I haven't thought about tapes in, 30 years. And, tapes are no good because, like if you want to listen to a particular song, you got to fast forward and rewind, and tapes wear out and they eventually hit an expiration date. It's like Jason Skilz said, it's kind of like collecting wine. Right, all wine eventually has an expiration date. Well, I mean, as much as we all might love our tapes, one day every single cassette on this planet is going to be unplayable. That's just the way it goes. But regardless, that was the attitude I had in the beginning. But now that I've found some good quality older cassette decks to use on my stereo, and I've got back into making mixtapes and stuff, I kind of forgot how much fun cassettes are. They're definitely a fun little way to listen to your music. And so so I'm gonna start out going over some of the tapes that match these topics, and then probably talk a little bit about the equipment that I have. So the first one on the list here is the most recent tape you got. So I'm going to actually divide this up into two things: the newest new release tape that I got, and then the newest used tape that I got. So the newest new release is this, the new Ed Sheeran album, Equals. Really kind of like this because I love the splatter paint on the shell. It's pretty cool. Haven't got around to listening to this yet, but will pretty soon. Have listened to the vinyl, though. Sounds great. And then newest used arrival is a really nice copy of Judas Priest Painkiller. I was a little worried when I bought this because it's one of these old CBS style cassettes with the grid pattern. And anybody that buys a lot of these on the used market know that these have a very high failure rate. These have not proven very durable over the years. So, but this one plays through and plays great. Doesn't slow down, doesn't halt or anything like that. So, so this one I got lucky on. Sounds really good. All right, next one. Show a punk tape. Well, I may as well show the one that sucked me back down the vortex. So this is the tape I was talking about. It's called 2020, A Very Good Year. Obviously, tongue-in-cheek. 2020 was not a very good year for anyone. This came as part of a zine, and so I was pretty happy to have this, and that's actually what got me to get a cassette deck, so I could actually listen to this. So yeah. All right, a metal tape. So this is actually one of my favorite 80s metal albums. Kind of flew under the radar a little bit, but people that know this tend to love it. This is an album called Scarred for Life by Obsession. This is another one. These are the old Capitol style EMI tapes, and these have a very high failure rate. The 80s tapes do. Especially early to mid 80s. They have a pretty high failure rate these days, but this one sounds great and plays well. Hip hop. Hip hop's something I'm seriously lacking on. Not really my speed or anything else. This was the closest thing I could find from the early 90s. The Bliss album by PM Dawn. I will never get sick of this record. This was or this tape, I guess. This was my jam back when I was a kid. I love this album, and I still do to this day. Still play this regularly. Good stuff. Tape by a local band. So this actually came out on the same label that did the 2020 tape, Sorry State. And this is a demo tape from a local band called Control Group. And this comes with a nice gold-colored shell. So let's see. Next would be a tape by you of your own music. Can't really do that. I'm not a musician. I don't play. So let's see. Next one, show a reissue tape. Here's a reissued one from, I think, 2017, 2018 of first White Stripes album from 1999. So this is the transparent red shell. This one sounds pretty good. Let's see. A blank tape or a mixed tape. So I have actually made a habit of, in 2021, of making mixtapes for my Instagram followers. Anytime I find, just sealed basic Type 1 ferric tapes, I'll usually buy them for, $1 a piece or whatever, and then I'll just put something on my Instagram story and say, hey, who wants a mixtape? And they always get snapped up. People like them. So I've had fun doing that, and it's sort of turned into my COVID project, if you will. Just something to bring a smile to people's faces. But that said, I do have some nicer tapes, some chrome and some metal tapes that I keep for myself, because those are my good tapes. I'm not going to give those away for free. But this one, here's a rock mix that I made recently on a Maxell MX90. So I think I just called it, what did I call it? Essential Rock Mix Volume 1. Haven't got around to making Volume 2 yet, but there's a track list. So let's see. Your most valuable tapes. So that would probably be twofold. I'll do probably the one that's the most valuable money-wise, and then one of the ones that's most valuable to me personally. So the one that's probably the most valuable money-wise, and I don't have any cassettes that are super, super valuable, because I'm not going to spend tons of money on something that chances are I might not be able to listen to in a few years. It doesn't make any sense to me anyway. But if you're really into collecting, sure. But if I'm going to drop heavy money on something on a physical music format, it's going to be vinyl. Clearly, right? That said, these are starting to get a little more expensive these days, especially Alice in Chains MTV Unplugged. These are getting expensive, especially if you can find one that actually plays through. These are really tough to find, that where they don't slow down or grind to a halt or whatever else. This one plays perfect, so very happy to have this. And then the one that's probably the most valuable to me personally, which I had been looking for a while and finally scored. Back in 2017, I want to say it was. It was 2017. For about 8 hours on a street corner in Los Angeles, Maroon 5 sold cassette copies of their new at the time album Red Pill Blues out of a vending machine. And the reason people lined up to buy these tapes out of the vending machine was because some of them had concert tickets to see Maroon 5 at the Forum in LA. And so there were only, I think, 100, 150 of these done up, and they were all put in a vending machine. And so this one was brand new when I got it, and so of course I had to open it and play it. But these were sold for $2.22 because they were released on 222 Records, which is Adam Levine's label. And so sold for $2.22. This one cost me a little more. I forget how much this was, but it wasn't terribly expensive, but it was definitely more than 222. So, yeah. And then Let's see. Tape I bought at a show or event. I don't think I've bought any tapes at a show. I bought vinyl at shows, but not tapes. Um, and then where do you usually buy tapes? I usually buy tapes either on Discogs or at local record shops. I kind of prefer to buy them at record shops so that I can see them. And, I know that you can't really grade cassettes visually because, I mean, they could be brand new and have playback issues, or they could look beat up and still play fine, right? So you can't really judge cassettes visually as much as you can vinyl. Um, but yeah, I still like to be able to hold them and look at them before I buy them. So I tend to buy from used record shops. Plus, they're usually a lot cheaper at record shops than they are online. The market for used vinyl and tapes online is getting ridiculous. Um, Sealed copy, don't have any of those. I don't buy music formats to keep them sealed. If I buy something, I'm opening it and I'm playing it. So I don't have any pre-recorded cassettes that are still sealed. However, I do have 20 of these bad boys that are still sealed. These Maxell XL2S 90s. These are Chrome Type 2 tapes. These are an excellent value for the money. You get excellent sound for what you pay for them. You're obviously going to pay a little more for these than you would for sealed Type 1 tapes, but these are totally worth it. So if you ever find these at a decent price, pick them up. And then I've also got 14 of these sealed bad boys, Maxell MX90s, which are metal tapes. These are Type 4. These are some of the best sounding tapes I've ever heard in my life. So, yeah, so that's about the best I can do on sealed. What album or artist would you like to buy your next tape for? So I think my next new tape is probably going to be the new Tears for Fears album that's due out in about a month, February 2022. Really looking forward to that record. I've liked the couple of singles that they've dropped off of it, so really looking forward to that. And then there's a bonus question on here. Show a tape box set or a double cassette. Just happen to have both. So the double cassette is this tape version of Fearless Taylor's version from Taylor Swift. So it's got, it opens in the front and it opens in the back. So double tape there. And then a tape box set. Got Bruce Springsteen and the E Street Band. See 3 cassettes. Open it up. This was actually new and sealed when I got it. So I saved the hype sticker off of the shrink wrap there, and it's got the booklet and then 3 cassettes. So that is one hell of a live album. If you've never heard it, by the way, if you like Bruce Springsteen, you probably already heard it, but if you're just a casual fan of Springsteen's hits, still worth checking out. That is a killer box set. So as far as my my own equipment goes, when I started looking for a cassette deck, my first inkling was to go and find something new. Problem is, the only people that make a brand new component cassette deck anymore is TIAC. And those cassette decks are $600. And I was like, no. So I went the vintage route, but of course with vintage, you've got problems with, pinch rollers, and you've got, are the belts worn out, right? You've got all these kind of things. But I ended up going through a few different cassette decks before I finally settled on the 2 that I have. I have 2 mainly because of the whole mixtape deal that I like to do. I don't like to dub one cassette to another because you can't control the record level. So if I record a bunch of stuff off vinyl and then I record something from a tape that is way louder than how I was recording the vinyl, I end up with one track on the tape that's like way louder than everything else, and I'm too OCD for that. I won't do that. So instead, I've got a second cassette deck so that I can actually play a tape on a different deck and control the record level on the one I'm recording on to get everything to sound uniform. It's just I'm a bit of a perfectionist like that when it comes to making mixtapes. But anyway, so I found so one of my playback units here is it's a older JVC model. I believe it's early '90s, and this deck one is a standard one direction deck. Deck two is the record deck and also has auto reverse. And then over here, this is the one I use for heavy playback and heavy record. That's a Tascam 202 Mark II from circa 1992. That deck is pretty much like new, and everything works on it. It works like a dream. I mean, you will not find a nicer used cassette deck than that one, and I love some of the professional recording features on it, especially the record mute function, which is great when you're making a mixtape because you can, at the end of the song, just hit record mute and it'll record 4 seconds of silence after the song and automatically pause the tape for you. So that's kind of nice, so that then you can queue up the next song and all that. So yeah, so the JVC and the Tascam keep me going. And then I've also got a portable Walkman WM-F18, which is from around 1985 or so. And that one was in a little bit of rough shape when I got it. It looked good, but it didn't run very good. And so I was able to clean that up, thankfully. Put a new belt on it, lubricated all the gears, cleaned the heads, the pinch rollers. Had to clean all the electrical pots and stuff. The volume control was crackly, all that. But a little bit of tender love and care, and brought that one back. So I use that mainly in the car to to get through my to-play pile. If I start getting a backlog of cassettes, I'll usually bring along the Walkman in the car so that I can play through some of them and help get through that pile while I'm driving. So that's going to do it for me. Hope you enjoyed this video, and I'll catch you guys on the flip side. Peace.